Gang. Blouses.
Here we go. I know I am wearing my Orlando shirt. Short? What the fuck? I know I'm wearing my throwback Shaq for the Western Conference, but we can pretend he's Big Cactus for a second. But we are starting in the Northwest Division, Kanye's favorite division. Here's what I got. Here's what I think is going to happen this year. We're going to take a look and compare it to last year. So this is what we're looking at in the Northwest. A very competitive division. I think it's going to be more competitive than last year. In the one slot, you had Denver, the eventual NBA champions, and you have Minnesota, the OKC, Jazz, and then the Blazers. A lot of this is going to stay the same for me. I don't think there's going to be a huge shakeup in this division. This one seems pretty locked in. The only one that I have switched up, excuse me, is right over here. I got the Jazz at the bottom, and then the Blazers in the 4 slot. I don't know what it is. I'm not throwing any shade to Utah. I think that a lot of people are going to sleep on Portland this year and just think that they're going to suck immediately and automatically because Dame's not there. But you got to remember, they still have Anthony Simons. They still have Shaden Sharp. They still have Scoot Henderson, my pick for Rookie of the Year this year because I'm an idiot, I guess. And then you have Malcolm Brogdon. You have DeAndre Ayton. You still have Jeremy Grant. It's not a slouchy team. They're not going to suck. They're still going to fight. You know, Chauncey Billups, is he a viable option as a contending NBA coach? Probably not, but I think he's a good guy to have in the locker room for these types of situations. So that's what I'm looking forward to with them. You know, Denver, Minnesota, OKC, I think is the top 3 for sure. Denver, obviously, I think is going to run away with this division. Again, I don't think there's much competition on the bottom 4 of these teams with them. I think Minnesota obviously is the closest thing to it. Anthony Edwards is due for a huge year, I think. Would not be surprised if he's in the MVP discussion very early on in this season. I hope he is. He's one of my favorite guys to watch. And that dunk over Nick Vucevic the other night, even though it's preseason, I'm getting stoked. I'm excited. This might come out after the season's already started. So by the time this comes out, I'm sure he's already put one on somebody's head again. So we'll see. Denver losing Bruce Brown. I don't think that's enough to bump them to the 2nd slot in this division, but we'll see. Aaron Gordon going to be living in that dunker spot. Jamal Murray coming back, another healthy year. They still got KCP, and they got Michael Porter Jr. Never seen a shot he doesn't like. It's crazy. Minnesota at 2. I really like this team. I really like Anthony Edwards. Gobert, Cat, healthy. It's gonna be interesting to see for sure. To see what they can do with this because Minnesota has been on the cusp, even though they're 2nd in this division. They've always been on the cusp of a play-in, an 8 seed, something like that. So I'm looking for them to take the leap this year. Maybe it's a tough task in the West, but maybe get out of that bubble slot and grab a 6 seed and just chill for a little bit and let the others duke it out before you have to fight for your life. Okay, OKC, I think this is one this is probably the safest bet to put them at 3. I know a lot of people are very high on Chet Holmgren. They're very high on Shea. I almost did what Jack says, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I know that a lot of people really, really like what he's doing. I don't think it's enough to surpass the T-Wolves, though. I know last year they were only 2 games apart, but again, in terms of who I would want on my team, Anthony Edwards over SGA, I'm going Ant. I'm sorry. Now, the Jazz, again, Lauri Markkanen, still a very solid player. Do I think it's going to be enough with, guys like Walker Kessler and Jordan Clarkson and I know I said Mike Conley on a previous episode. He doesn't play for them anymore. He's back in Minnesota. And Colin Sexton. Do I think that's enough for them? No. I sorry. If you're a Utah fan, I apologize, but 37 games last year after I think they started like 6-1 or something like that, 7-1. It was a crazy start to the year last year, and then they eventually just um, faded into almost nothingness. But again, not nothingness. There were only 3 games out of a play-in spot or whatever it was, from the third seed. So that's what I got for the Northwest, Kanye's favorite division. Now let's get into the Southwest because I want to save the Pacific for last. I think you guys know why. Southwest Division. This is what we were looking at last year. There's a big if in this, and a sort of I guess a black stain on one of these teams from last year based on what happened towards the end. But again, I think that time for them hopefully is done, and them fucking around is over, and they're in full warrior mode this year. Pardon my my pun. I didn't mean the Warriors themselves, but you know what I mean. They gotta fight, man. Mavericks at the third slot in this division is for me unacceptable. It's just bad. If you're Luka Doncic and you're looking at these standings going, how many of these guys above me are better players than me? Zero. There are 0 players in this division that are better than him. I'm sorry. John Moran is not better than Luka Doncic. Zion Williamson is not better than Luka Doncic. There's no one in this division that's better than him. Wembanyama down the line, maybe, but we don't know what's going to happen. There's not a single person in this division that is a better basketball player all around than Luka Doncic. For them to finish third last year, I know it's a whole thing of them trying to tank for a draft pick, and they got busted for it, but it should be embarrassing with having Luka Doncic and the greatest show on earth with Kyrie Irving as your second option. I mean, come on, man. 38 games is it's not enough. I know we had a lot of issues with putting guys around him, and finally that trade for Kyrie, put a little gas in his tank, but I'd be pissed. Straight up. I'd be pissed if I was Luka Doncic and I saw these 2 teams ahead of me. Now, we know New Orleans was running away with the West for a while. They were in the top of the Western Conference for a considerable amount of the year last year. Do I think that's going to happen again? No, I don't. I also don't agree with ESPN and think that Zion Williamson is going to average 30 and 10. I love that ESPN is saying that. I love that they think that. It would be amazing for NBA fans if that was the case. It's not going to happen. 30 points and 10 rebounds over the course of 82 games for a guy who hasn't played more than, I don't know, 50 games in the last 3 years. It's a lot. It's gonna take a lot more to get him there. So enough about last year. Let's get into this year. Here is what I'm looking at in terms of my standings. I still have the Grizz at 1. Nothing has changed in the spoilers. Nothing has changed in who I think is a good team in the first seed of all of these predictions. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Maybe there's something to be said about that. Maybe it's because the NBA is getting a little bit more versatile, a little bit more consistent as well with those young teams that are on the rise. And it's not always going to be the Power 5, big market teams like Boston, New York, and LA. It's not going to be those guys. We have a lot of mid-market teams. I mean, Denver won a championship last year. Milwaukee won it a couple of years ago, So I think that's just a telltale sign of where the league is going. There's a lot of young players to be excited about that are changing the game. A lot of the guys in, the LeBron era of players, they're about to be done. There's a lot of people that are on the tail end of their careers, and it's sad for guys like me that grew up watching the entire trajectory of their careers, whoever it be, Chris Paul, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and so forth. A ton of those guys that have been around from that, from that draft class. Obviously there was Kevin Durant wasn't in the same draft class, but he is getting up there as well, is what I'm saying. Yeah, Memphis, Dallas, New Orleans, San Antonio, Houston is my 5 for this. Sorry for rambling before that. Memphis is only going to miss 25, or Ja Morant's only going to miss 25 games for Memphis. So that is about mid-December. If you have him on your fantasy team, I think it's a steal wherever he's at. I think he was going a lot lower than a lot of people are expecting him. 25 games in the grand scheme of things is really not that much if you have another viable option at the point guard position, but that's fantasy stuff. We won't get into that right now. Yeah, I think Dallas is number 2 in this division. I want to say that this division this year, in terms of the top 3 teams, I think they could potentially be separated by 3 games, meaning the third best team and the top team could be very, very close in where they finish if everybody stays healthy. I don't think that's going to happen, that everybody's staying healthy, but I'm saying in terms of full strength, full availability, those 3 teams, pretty even, in my opinion. So, um, we'll see what happens with that. I still like the Grizzlies. Even the shitty news with Steven Adams. He's having another surgery. He's going to be out for the year. Great news for fantasy owners that have Jaren Jackson Jr. on your team, like me, and I'm pumped about that. Obviously, not pumped about the injury because I do love Steven Adams, one of the strongest guys in the league, one of the best screeners in the game, and just a good dude, just a great teammate. And it's shitty. So hopefully he gets better soon, and wishing him a speedy recovery, man. I'm gonna miss watching that. As an old school big man fan, I really appreciate his game. So hopefully he comes back very soon, very strong. Pelicans at 3. Look, I mean, they're a versatile athletic team. They lose Jackson Hayes at the backup center spot, but they still got Joval. They still have Zion, allegedly. They still have CJ McCollum. They still have Brandon Ingram. That's a solid group of guys. Yeah, Dallas 2, New Orleans 3, San Antonio is going to be 4, and I just don't like Houston. I'm going to put them at 5. I'll be straight up with you. I don't like anybody on that team. I don't think Jalen Green is very good. I don't think Dylan Brooks is any good. I don't think Freddie Buckets is going to win you any games. And the only redeeming quality about that team is that they have Boban. Boban is one of the best personalities in the game. It's funny to me that he is positioned next to all of these guys that are on this team that are just absolute animals. And it's funny because there are so many like playground dudes on this team, and then you have this 7'5" behemoth coming off the bench who looks like he's 55, just hanging out with the young kids at the park. So we'll see what happens with that. But Kevin Porter Jr. just got traded. Oladipo's coming to Houston. OKC is definitely going to waive Kevin Porter Jr. He's in big trouble. Hey, but there's always a spot for you on Charlotte. How about that? Never give up, man. But please stop breaking the law, as Jim Carrey would say. Yeah, man. That is the Southwest. Very excited about that division. Obviously, when John Morant comes back, things are going to get even more exciting. So that's good. And that's my 5. So let me know what you think. Drop a comment down there. Tell me I'm wrong. Damn it. Do something. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. We got another one coming up next. 1 sec. Okay. Last but not least, you know it. I know it. This is the most competitive division in the entire NBA. And if you don't agree, you are wrong, sir. I apologize. Not only competitive in terms of potential wins per season, but they are the most competitive team because they all are going to make the playoffs, I think. All things go well, all 5 of these teams will be in the playoffs. Now, here's what it looked like last year. The Kings at the top of this division. Good on them, dude. Big fan of Sabonis. Big fan of De'Aaron Fox, Keegan Murray. I love those guys, dude. I think that the Kings are one of the most exciting teams, exciting fan bases. Light the fucking beam. Let's get it, dude. I love it. I shouldn't love it because they're not a team that I root for, but man, there's just something about the energy in that arena when you're bad for that long and then all of a sudden things start to go well. I mean, it's incredible. I'm waiting for that moment. I'm waiting, baby. Let's go. Man, we got to get a beam of our own in Orlando or something. Okay. Yeah, this is going to shake up significantly, I think, this year. You have the Suns at 2, Clippers 3, Warriors 4, Lakers 5 last year. Lakers were in 5th place last year. They finished 2 games above 500 at wait, what? Hold on. No. Why is my math so bad? 4 games above 500. Jesus. My bad. Sorry about that. I don't do math good. I sorry. Okay. All right, back to business. Sorry about that. And yeah, I obviously I think all 5 of these teams could make the playoffs. Now, there's only a couple changes I'm going to make here, but in terms of their playoff hopes, I don't think anyone's like there's a lot of teams in these other divisions that are flat out no way you're going to make it. It's just not going to happen. All 5 of these teams in this division have a chance to not only make the playoffs, but make a deep run and potentially win a title. All 5. Kings, Suns, Clippers, Warriors, Lakers. If you disagree with me, let me know. But I think all 5 of these teams, no matter your take, no matter how much you hate the King, anytime you got LeBron James on the team, with this kind of supporting cast, it's dangerous. Steph Curry, never count him out. The Clippers, Kawhi Leonard is still one of the best players of our generation. With Paul George, they're probably going to land Harden, maybe. And they have Russell Westbrook as well, who even in a slouchy year, he's still averaging. And I say slouchy because in comparison to his other years, is not as good. But his down year last year was 17, 8, and 8 or some shit like that. So it's not going to be. None of these teams are rolling over. You have the Suns that just added Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant for a full season. The Bull. Sorry, I couldn't get that without laughing. Yeah, maybe he'll be all right, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, man, all 5 of these guys could potentially make very deep runs or win the title. So we'll see. Here's what I have for this year. Bam, right over there. Pacific Division number 1, I got the Kings. Number 2, Lakers. 3, Suns. 4, Warriors. 5, Clippers. Now, let me tell you, I think the Kings are the most consistently competitive team out of this. I think they're the hot hand, and I like to bet on the hot hand. I think De'Aaron Fox is probably, with the exception of the Warriors and when Russell Westbrook is healthy, I think he's the best point guard in this division. I think he's phenomenal. I think he's a once in a franchise talent. He will go down as one of the greatest Kings to ever put on a uniform for what he did last year with ending the playoff drought and really competing his ass off against the Warriors. That was a hell of a series, man. That was one of my favorite series last year. Was Kings Warriors in the playoffs. Yeah, I think they have a lot to build on. I think Sabonis is always a solid option. He's a 2020 guy. They have a lot of shooting that surrounds them. Kevin Huerter, Keegan Murray. It's not looking like they're going to drop off anytime soon. I don't think. But look, I'm betting on the hot hand. I'm sorry. I don't think these other teams have the competitive fire that the Kings have, and their fan base is just. I mean, come on, man. How do you not love that? I got Lakers at 2, and I got Lakers at 2 because I'm not bullshitting. I'm not saying this because I am not a fan of Durant and Booker or Phoenix as a whole. I think that the Lakers have a better team from top to bottom. I'm talking from 1 to 15 than the Suns do. The Suns are a very heavy, very top heavy lineup. They're going to be big time heavy hitting on that team. I mean, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal are 3 all-star players, 3 potentially all NBA guys that are still in the same starting lineup. That's unbelievable. Now, the problem is when one of those guys goes down or gets in foul trouble or gets tired or is having an off night, who's coming in off the bench to fill in? Now, I know what you're saying. That's a stupid thing to say because you have 2 other scorers that are on the team. Yes, that is true. But there is not a team in the NBA or in college for that matter that if you don't have a successful and competitive bench, you will not win games. You're not going to win. You're not going to go deep into the playoffs. You're not going to do anything that shocking. And the other reason why I have them at 3 is that I don't know what their offense is going to look like. I don't know what they're going to do outside of run a ton of isolation plays, and it's going to look like the fucking Harlem Globetrotters out there. It's going to be a lot of 3-man weave at the top of the key, and then who wants to score today, and then whoa. I mean, it's going to be fun for the casual fan to watch, but like the true basketball gurus and the guys that want to see some cool shit and like you know some back screens, some lobs, some Popovich style draw ups and X's and O's and shit like that. You're not going to get that. It's going to be a lot of get the fuck out of the way, give me the ball, and let's see what happens. And those guys might shoot 16 for 25. They might shoot 5 for 18. You don't know. It's a lot of question marks for that. It's a brand new system. I'm not sure what we're going to get out of Bradley Beal. I'm not sure who's going to be running the point guard, or if they even need a point guard. This is going to be, they're going to average 80 points between the 3 of them or something close to it. That would be, 23 and a half from each of them. That's relatively unlikely, but I think if one of those guys averages 27 or 28, which I think Booker will be the primary scorer on this team this year, I still think Kevin Durant will be the most efficient, but I think Booker is going to be the highest scorer on the team. I just don't know what we're going to get. I'm very confused as to how they're going to succeed. And look, I could be totally wrong. Maybe they go fucking 60-22 and they're at the top of the division and they run away with an NBA title. Maybe, but let's see it. Let's see you compete for 82 games. Another thing that I have an issue with Kevin Durant, I know that this is going to happen. There's games and there's nights where he just is like, I don't need to do this right now. I think everything is going to just work itself out, which, yeah, in seasons past, that has been the case for him. But I think this is the biggest shift in his time with a team in terms of an addition of a player where it's not him that it's going to be a challenge. He's normally the guy that is added to the roster that everybody has to adjust for. He's never had to adjust for other people being added to his team, if that makes sense. Obviously, I know people are going to say, well, he did that in Brooklyn with James Harden and Kyrie Irving. They never played together. I mean, it was the best team on paper that didn't do shit. So no, he didn't do that. It was hard. They were hardly ever on the floor together. It was very disappointing as a fan to see, but neither here nor there. I'll stop talking about Phoenix. I think the Lakers are a complete team. I think from 1 to 5, I think they have a lot of dogs on that team. They got a deep bench. As we were saying earlier in another episode, Rui Hachimura is my guy this year. I'm very excited, very high on him. Big fan of his game, big fan of his versatility, his strength, his attitude. He just is a guy he's a good energy guy. You want to find guys that are happy, that are still have that competitive edge, but can be lighthearted and can enjoy the moment, enjoy winning, and not take things so seriously. He's a kid. He's a fun guy to watch. I'm a big fan of his game, and I think he's going to take a jump. Austin Reeves, another guy on the Lakers that I think is going to be due for a big year. I mean, obviously there's a lot to be said about his defensive ability and what he's going to be able to do in terms of guarding, a lot of athletic wings, but he works really hard, and it's just a matter of, he's put on, some very, very talented players, generational players at times, and he doesn't back down. Sometimes he gets smoked, but you're never going to see him not compete. So, I don't think I need to say anything crazy about LeBron and AD other than the fact that if they both stay healthy, they are deadly together. I mean, it's It's unreal the length and the athleticism and the consistency of LeBron James that they have on this team. I mean, he's going to be 39 in 2 months. And from everything that we've seen, he's on track to score 40,000 career points. I would say that barring a serious injury, which we know that hasn't really happened with him, knocking on wood, because I don't want to see him go down like that and end his career like that. Um, he's probably still on track for 28, 8, and 8. I would think. I mean, all signs point to yes for that. There's really not anything that could sway me in the other direction to tell me that he's not going to do what he's done all the time. And now he has pieces on the roster that are going to help him win more games and do less and kind of relax. So will that drive his stats down? Maybe, but I still think we're going to get the same consistent animal that is LeBron James. I don't think there's anything that points, the other direction for that. So, sorry, I know I'm going off on tangents with this division, but this division is it's very exciting. I mean, any division. I mean, last year the Warriors in the 4 slot, 4 out of 5. Let's look at the others, okay? Just for reference, all right? The other fourth place in their division teams were the Jazz, the Magic, the Pacers, the Nets, and the Rockets. Tell me where they fit in as a 4 for that. It doesn't make sense, man. This division is loaded. It's so exciting for an NBA fan to have a division like this because it's always competition. These guys are going to play each other 4 times a year. I think it's still 4 in terms of the schedule. I could be wrong on that, but I think you play your divisional opponents 4 times each, which is, I mean, great. It makes for great TNT West Coast games. I'd watch any of these 2 teams match up, and I'd stay up as late as possible to watch all of these guys compete. So I'm excited about that. Warriors at the 4 still, though, out of 5 because I'm not sure what they're going to do with Chris Paul. I like the fact that they lost Jordan Poole. I think that's a good locker room decision for obvious reasons. And I just don't know what they're going to do with the starting 5. I think if obviously if you implement Chris Paul, then Steph Curry is going to get a lot more off the ball work, which he is a menace at. But that also it makes him a little small. Then you got 2 guys at 6'3", 6'2", 6'3" as your double-headed point guard, and Kevon Looney still needs his minutes. He needs to be a big body down there. But again, another 2 feet and in guy that we were talking about in the last episode, in regards to Capella, and Steven Adams, and who did I say? The other guy, Zubats, and there was another dude. I can't remember. Son of a bitch. Gobert. Rudy Gobert. Ding. Got it. Just needed a second. So yeah, a lot of that stuff is going to affect them this year in terms of the lineup adjustments. But again, it's hard to bet against the team that is that has Steph Curry on it. Now, from last year, from the 1 seed had the Kings. They had 48 wins last year. The 5th seed, which was the Lakers, who still made the play-in game and went to the conference finals. They were at 43 wins. So from 1 to 5, only separated by 5 wins. That's not that. I mean, that's the closest. In terms of last year, let's see. Other divisions separated. Northwest separated by 20 wins. The Southeast last year separated by 17 wins. The Southwest separated by 29 wins. So, I mean, again, this division is fucking loaded, and I couldn't be more excited about it. I apologize to the Clippers for putting them at the bottom of this division, but I still think the Clippers could win a couple of divisions, obviously, in the East. Well, maybe not a couple, but they could definitely be higher than 5 and a lot of divisions. I think that, barring anything crazy happening in terms of injury with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George again, I think they still can be a contender. It's hard to count these guys out. They're athletic as shit. They have a lot of big household names on their team that you can't sleep on. Russell Westbrook is still going to do Russell Westbrook things. And, I apologize for putting them at the 5, but that's just how it goes, Russ. I'm sorry. What? Yeah, it's just how it goes, man. But do I think the Clippers are a bad team? No. Do I think they are going to have to play more because of this new rule? Yeah, they're going to have to. Plain and simple. They created this rule seemingly targeting the 2 guys on this team that do it the most. Jerry West is pissed. Ty Lue is pissed. Russ is pissed. I mean, Russ had to do everything last year. Now you can't predict injuries and you can't control what happens in a game a lot of the times with the way your body feels and the way it naturally moves, and then all of a sudden it can't anymore and things get hurt, strained, pulled, tweaked, whatever. But as one of my coaches used to say, are you injured or are you hurt? Everybody plays hurt, but if you're injured, you can't play. And that's just how it goes. Everybody in the NBA is hurt. Every single player. Are you hurt or are you injured? Do you have a rolled ankle or did your knee pop out of place and you can't put any weight on it? Which is it? Because all these guys are dealing with tweaks, pulls, strains, soreness, tightness, spasms, whatever. They're all dealing with that. Every person from the top to the bottom, they're dealing with some sort of functionality issue in game 82 of the year. It's a long season. These guys' bodies go through hell. They train very hard, and it's very difficult to stay tip top shape, and not have any sort of injury going on into this year. So with that being said, I still think the Clippers are 5th in this division, but I'm excited for what they're going to do. And dude, we might get a James Harden trade. I don't know what they're going to send over to Philly. I don't know if there's going to be a third team involved. I don't know if maybe the third team involved is Houston, and they're clearing the runway. Got it. For a rocket landing in James Harden in Houston. So maybe we'll get that. Maybe he'll go to LA. Maybe he'll go to the team that he's always wanted to go to. He wants to reunite with Russ again and see how that worked. So I don't know, man. A lot to be said about this division, and I don't think that I still think all of these teams are going to be above 500. I think all of them are going to make the playoffs. One of them might squeeze into a play-in slot. I think that could be the Clippers if that's the case. But again, a lot of positive things to be said about this division. And the Kings, man, get ready. I think they're out. I think they're out hunting this year. They got their names on the list, and they're gonna attack the fuck out of this division. So I'm excited for that. Let me know in the comments if you think I got anything wrong. If you think I'm stupid, if you think hey, or if you want to throw me a attaboy, I agree with you. That'd be good too. A lot of this stuff I'm not very good at, but I feel like I've watched enough to make some sort of educated decision on this. So we'll see. Hopefully I'm right. If I get 3 correct in each conference in terms of placement out of the 15, I'm good. That's a pretty good batting average for me. So yeah, let me know what Western Conference division you're most excited about watching. And if it's not the Pacific, you're wrong. We got more content coming to you guys. If you could, please subscribe, like it, leave a comment, tell me to go fuck myself, whatever you want to do. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Thank you very much for listening. I'm looking forward to a great 23-24 season. Make sure you set those lineups, man. It's going to be a long week of games. So, make sure you're on that waiver wire and you are using all of those acquisitions. Use them all. Build up that roster. Keep it going. Keep it competitive, and make sure that you are not last place this year. That's all I got to say. Good luck. Happy tip-off, and I will see you guys next time. Game Blouses. Good night.
Game Blouses.